Andatzen.
Man, what a difference a few degrees makes, guys. Welcome back to the channel Anderson, and welcome to another video update on all the cars. We're starting the weekend. I got a bunch of work to do, so I figured better start filming before I miss out on things. It is probably, I don't know, 45, 50 degrees. Last weekend was literally like 15 degrees, so much easier to work on the cars. I got a few things we need to take care of on the silver C55. I finally got a new battery, so I got to pull this one out. This is a big shout out for FCP Heroes lifetime program, because 250 bucks that I don't have to spend again, or 230, I can't remember what it was. But when I first got this battery, it was plenty strong, and basically, I mean, I could let the car sit for like a week, 2 weeks, and it would fire up no problem. But there's a video I made a long time ago about wiring delete, and I deleted like 40 pounds of wiring out of this car. And while I was doing so, one day on accident, I left the cabin doors open with the light on, and it basically drained the battery to nothing. And ever since then, I've needed to charge it pretty regularly, especially when it's cold, to have it enough, give it enough oomph to start. If I do drive it regularly, like once a day or every few days, it's usually okay. But when it gets really cold, I got to charge it all the time. So I got a new one, so I'm going to swap that one in. I got to swap our fittings, pull that out, and get that all boxed up in FCP Heroes packaging so I can send it back to them and get my refund. So that's one thing. And we also got a fresh set of ignition supplies. So I have coil packs, and we'll talk about those in a moment, and I also have spark plugs and some spark plug wires that are not here yet, but something that I really want to test, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. And if you guys are curious about this whole setup, I have a whole video on this where Mike and I made the bracket and the whole routing to the back of the car and everything. So I don't know, I'll link that below, or you guys can go search it. It's pretty easy to find. Small battery and a C55. There's not many others out there making videos on that subject, so easy to find. But yeah, I'm gonna get this thing out of here. Basically, just two little wing nuts that are holding on our little bracket that we made. Get those off, and then our two, well, one now because I didn't have the other one on there, but two bolts holding on our terminals onto the top here. Alright, those are off. Just got to pull this out of here and get our extended terminals, or SAE terminals, off of this. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see, but those are just mounted on. Sorry, the light is going to get in your way, but they're just mounted on with little Allen bolts. So I'm going to go in here, get those Allen bolts out, and these will come off. I didn't even think about it. Lifetime. I could have also just ordered another set of these, but that's okay. These are totally fine, so I'll just reuse them. Alright guys, those are off. That's what it looks like. You can use terminals just with bolts straight to there, but I just opted to use these, even though I'm still using like old terminals on top, not the traditional, you know, like little clamp ones. But anyways, this is ready to go. Swap this out. Alright guys, here's our replacement. Exact same thing, just newer. Comes with bolts, so if you guys do want to use the terminals without the additional little SE, you can use these. So I'll keep these bolts, nice bolts. But I'll be reusing those, a little bit of Loctite on them, and secure them down. Alright guys, new battery is in. Let's go ahead and hook it up to our Odyssey charger and see what it's at right now. Okay, 2 out of the box, but hopefully I'll let this thing charge up for a while. It'll go to 100% and be able to keep that much easier than my other one did. Alright, it got up to 3 bars pretty much in like a second, and now it's just charging. So I'm gonna let this do its thing, get up to full charge, and we'll come back to that later. Overall, would I recommend the smaller Odyssey battery, by the way, because a lot of people ask me. I think it depends on what your car is used for and how it's kind of put together, what you're using as far as electronics go, etc. If you have like a big stereo system and you don't drive the car that hard and all that type of stuff, I probably would not recommend it just for the weight savings alone. But if you are trying to dial in, you know, weight savings as much as possible, and you don't have a lot of electronics in the car, like I told you, 40 pounds of wiring deleted, no radio, etc., you know, no power seats anymore, etc., I would probably recommend it. They're really good batteries, Odyssey in general. If you don't get a smaller Odyssey battery, I would highly recommend the big Group 49 Odyssey battery regardless, or go to like Costco or something. They're pretty comparative, but yeah, I guess that's my thoughts on it. It's been pretty good for me, considering that I basically deaded it at the beginning. Like within a couple weeks of me owning it, I destroyed the first one, and it survived for, it's got to be like 2 or 3 years now. It's pretty good. So this one, I will not try to kill it like that, and see how it does long term, and update you guys, of course, as we go. And real quick also, I think I mentioned it at the end of the fuel pump video for this thing, but I did end up finding a Crossfire drive shaft for like 175 bucks shipped from overseas. So that's on the way here, and I'm doing my best to try to collect a couple of those for the upcoming year. This one has a W204 manual drive shaft on it, and I would like to take that one off and put it onto the CLK when we do the swap on that one, just because the W204 one is a little bit beefier, and I don't think it really needs to be on here. I'd rather use the smaller W203 one on this thing if it's going to stay NA. Even if I do end up putting the supercharger on this, it's not going to be making the power that this one is. So the beefier one can go on this one, regular 203 can go on this one, and yeah, I'll try to collect some other ones as well for other projects in the future. Also guys, super random, but an idea I had that I don't think is going to work necessarily. I probably could make it work, but I had these carbon fiber plates. I cut to size and I rounded the corners on them, tried to make them look nice. And my plan was I was going to use the existing airbox little grommet bolts on the silver C55, since it doesn't have the airbox anymore, and I was going to make like basically like a beauty cover almost on both sides. But the passenger side I could probably make work with some spacers because it's all flat, but the driver side I didn't account for the oil cap being there, and it doesn't quite work. I could probably make it work, but I'd have to get fancy with some spacers, etc., or mount it at like a different angle. But I thought it would have looked cool, but I guess I'll have to go back to the drawing board or think of something else. I could even make them shorter too, like maybe just to cover up the coil packs, and that way they definitely could fit. So let me know what you guys think. I thought it would be kind of a cool, unique little idea just to hide the coil packs. Hard to tell, dropping things, hard to tell on that side, but let me set this in here. So not exactly like that obviously, but something like that. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks kind of cool. It makes it look like the DTM engines that they use. They had like a similar cover on them. So ideas, let me know guys. Okay, also thoughts, I don't know why I didn't just think of this, but I could also just cut out a relief in it to clear the oil cap too, because I do kind of like the look of it being like full length. I don't know, we'll see. Alright guys, well, moving on, now it's time for the controversy, I guess. I run and have been running for a long time now just regular BKR 6ES-11s, which are just nickel alloy, aka what people call copper plugs, in my C55. I also have them in the red C55, I have them in the ML55. I would have put them in the CLK55, but that thing just came with pretty fresh iridium, so I didn't change them out. But these have been awesome. The reason I like these because they are dirt cheap. I bought a set of 16 of these for like $35. Comparatively, if you were gonna buy the Bosch Platinums or whatever, a set is like $100+. Yes, those last longer. Those are good for like 100,000 miles. These are good for like, I don't know, 30 to 40 at most. But you can change these out twice as often and still you're under the cost of one set of the other ones. And I like changing my plugs every 30,000, at least taking a look at them every 30, 40,000 anyways. So I don't mind doing it. I've gotten decent at doing the spark plugs on the M113s. The first time you do them, it is kind of a pain, but after you get used to them, you figure out the tips and tricks and what you use on, you know, the back ends, etc. So these will be going in. I'm curious to see what the ones that are in there right now will look like. I'll gap these to spec obviously and check what the gaps are on the ones that I've taken off, but I've been driving hard on the exact same plugs for, it's got to be, I don't know, I'll have to pop up the old video right now of when I first put them in. It's got to be like 3 years, and they've been great. So curious on that. Now probably an even more controversial topic is I decided that I'm going to be a test rabbit for aftermarket coil packs. Now I've seen plenty of people use them, and I've had plenty of friends recommend these in different, you know, variations, but these I got, guys. I got a pack of 6, 2 packs of 6, so 12 total, for $100 on eBay. They are lifetime warranty, and they also promote or market the fact that they have a 15% increase over, you know, I don't know, efficiency over OEM ones. So honestly, these feel fantastic in hand. Like, they do not feel cheap at all. And this is kind of an easy design to replicate, and being 18 years later, or actually like 22, 23 years later since these coil packs were first introduced on the M112s, M113s, you know, that's plenty of time for the aftermarket to be able to replicate a good version of them. So I'm excited to get these on. There's nothing wrong with the coil packs as is right now, but I just figured if I'm going to do the whole fuel system, the whole ignition system, might as well try something like this out and see if we do in fact get any changes or you know, any benefits. So couldn't beat it. $100 for 12 of them, so I got, you know, 4 extra, and I'll basically buy another set of 6 when I want to, and have another set for another car with a few to spare. So these will go on. I think what I'm going to do, just so I don't introduce a bunch of variables, is I'm going to go ahead and throw these on by themselves first before I change plugs or anything else, and just go for a drive, see how these feel, and we'll see if there's any changes. Alright, you guys, other thing to talk about for the CLK, I've been contemplating doing a few upgrades to eventually go to a 630cc injector. I do have the 550s in there right now, and also shout out to my buddy Jake, have these 550cc updated injectors, so I could just swap these out too for the time being. They're a better spray pattern, etc., but I don't know if it's worth it just quite yet. I might save these for something else, but I do have these adapters. These are EV1 to EV6-EV14, so these are what allow you to run the plugs like that. So I do have a set of 6 of the other adapters too. I just couldn't find this exact style. Hoping these are not too long. They might be, to be honest, but at least they'll work. So yeah, that's a future project. The thing that I'm considering doing is going to a fixed, basically either fixed similar size pulley to stock, or a fixed 83mm to stack pulleys. I have a 180mm Wisetech crank pulley right now, so I can't really go too far down on the supercharged pulley, but I am considering doing a little bit smaller upper pulley, mostly just to switch it to fixed. And I've also considered doing the little magnet drum delete if I do decide to go fixed. So we'll see. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that. I know it does affect drivability, etc. To a degree, but we got the best tuner in the game to help us out, get it sorted, so I'm not really worried when I got Josh helping out with the cars. And eventually, if we go manual swapped, I would like to be fixed anyways, so we'll see. But let me know your guys' thoughts on that. Something to plan for the future. And if we do decide to throw on our spare compressor over there, we can save those 550s to run into this thing, or I can just take the 550s out of that and put them in here. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna swap those coil packs on real quick, and then we'll fire this thing up. All right, guys, apologies for washer noises, but here they are side by side. Our OEM one and our aftermarket one. Pins. There we go. And the coil side. As you can see in there, not really. Alright, well, anyways, let's try them out. Alright, you guys, driver's side is done. Started with that side first, just 'cause it's a little tighter. There's the untouched side right now. A few things to point out that I actually liked. The connectors fit really nice and snug on the terminals, so that was a plus. And all of the boots clicked in really nicely. For those that don't know or haven't seen me do it, I like to use a little bit of dielectric grease on each one of those. It just makes it easier to service in the time being and in the future. So anyway, swap these out and then we'll start it up. All right, guys, those are all swapped out, all smooth. Let's go ahead and fire it up, and theoretically should be no changes. That's what we're hoping for. So let's go. And look at that, the sun is coming out. Beautiful. Okay, our battery has conditioned itself up to about 4 bars.
It should be plenty. Usually only takes 2 bars to start. So we'll see how this thing does. I'll keep you guys posted and see how long I'm going to keep this thing. If this time doesn't go well, I probably will end up swapping back to a little bit bigger battery, maybe like a Optima, you know, more common size, like a 34 or something that's still smaller than the 49 but big enough to suffice. So okay, that is all tied down. Let's go start this thing. I gotta sneak through this small space over here. Okay, here we go. Days. Nice and smooth. See how it idled down. Definitely a bit smoky on startup. Holy crap, man. Sheesh. Doesn't really smell like anything, so that's good. I think it's just condensation collected in the exhaust while it was sitting there in the garage. Sheesh. Alright, a couple blips and we'll shut it off. Alright, plugging the battery back in. It's at 3 bars right now, so I'm gonna let this thing sit on the charger, get up to full. Oh, went back down to 2, but get back down to full, or get up back to full, and we'll take this thing for a drive later. Alright, you guys. Oh my god. Alright, you guys, it is the next day. We are back to working on the C55. I'm gonna update you guys with a few things. Unfortunately, it's raining, so fun times to be had ripping around. Probably not gonna happen today, even though I do like a good spirited drive in the rain. Just got other things to do. So I need to grab a couple things out of the C36 right now. Went over to my parents' place yesterday and had a bunch of things over there. Well, not a bunch of things, but a few things over there that I wanted to grab. This, picked it up yesterday. We're gonna do an AC bypass on the C55. I'll explain why here in a second. And we got couple big jugs of kerosene because I ran out, and I found out that I had a bunch of leftover fluids that I needed. So let me grab all this stuff and I'll meet you guys back in the garage. Alright guys, so one cool thing I knew I had but I wasn't sure. This is the GL4, the specific stuff that's used in the manual transmissions, all the Mercedes manual transmissions. This time around I actually ended up just using Max Life ATF because I know a few buddies that are running it and I've had no issues. So I'm going to try it out. If it doesn't like it though, I have that fluid to swap in. And then other just miscellaneous things. I had some thread sealant needed to grab, etc. So the thing about the belt and why I'm doing this is I just prefer this, guys. I don't ever use AC in this car, especially throughout the year, like right now, maybe in summertime, but this thing's got 160,000 miles on it and I just don't want to risk having a compressor fail when I'm out trying to have fun driving, because I'm never going to use the AC anyway. So eventually I will probably delete it just like I did on the ML55. But I'll probably wait to do so when we pull this motor out of here and I can get things like real cleaned up. But yeah, this will go on. This is the belt size you need if you want to bypass your AC compressor. So this will go on. And the other thing I wanted to update you guys on, I'm pretty sure I figured out a pretty cool life hack, as I mentioned to you guys earlier. And I'm also not going to be able to show it in this video yet because I have the right part, but I ordered a better version of said right part. So I've pretty much confirmed it works. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek, but I'm going to make it a separate video because I think it's going to be a pretty cool one. Now it's nothing crazy fancy and I know it's dark over here, but that's okay. That'll help with the suspense. But in there, just to give you guys a little bit of light. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So in that bag is something that could A, save you guys a ton of money, and B, could actually be a performance upgrade for your ignition system. So I'm excited to show you guys. Like I said though, I have those, they worked, I tried them out, but I'm gonna make sure I get the proper ones so you guys can see exactly what I'm gonna try to run with those. So I need to check back. I don't know how long these spark plugs have actually been in here. I need to look back on the video. I don't think they have many miles on them. So I'm going to take a look at probably one or two of them and see what they're looking like, see what the burn is looking like on them. And then we'll make our decision if it's time to swap in the new ones yet or hold on to those for a bit. So let me pull one out and we'll see what it looks like. All right, guys. Well, time to change. These things are very rich and definitely carboned up. So I'll have to check the gap on them. Hard to check when it's got that much buildup on the end there, but most likely just means these things got to go. So let's start pulling them. So yeah, looking back at the video is from 3 years ago, so it's been 3 years since I put these in, but the car has only picked up about 5,000 miles since the video. So yeah, definitely maybe try to adjust our fueling and see what else. I mean, some of this, the valve covers were leaking pretty bad before, so it's gonna take me looking at the rest of them to see exactly, but yeah, this one is definitely fouled up. It's kind of amazing a car can still run pretty well even with plugs looking like this, so it'll definitely be happy on a fresh set of plugs and the whole ignition system kind of being refreshed. Alright guys, and before I do that, here's the old belt off, 2380, so the new one is 2310. But anyways, it looks pretty good. This thing is probably not that old, and I think it's probably lifetime warranted off FCP Euro, so I will hang on to it. Alright guys, belt is on. Let's continue on the spark plugs. Don't forget 17mm down there for the later style belt tensioner, and it's like a E-Torx for the early style tensioners. Alright guys, so these things are way out of spec. These are set at 0.055 right now. I think when I installed them, I set them to 0.040, and from talking to Josh right now, looks like factory calls for 0.037 on the C55 plug. So that's what I'll set them close to, and get the new ones in for sure. This was not throwing any shade to the old tune the car was on potentially, but there's more time on these plugs on the old tune than Josh's tune, so yeah, I guess that says something, I guess. But I'm gonna also bet that that is where our slight rev hang and hesitation was coming from, because that is, yeah, definitely out of spec. So curious to see how much better this car is gonna run with fresh plugs. You guys, sometimes you forget just how much of a pain in the butt these can be to get off, but this Mercedes tool does help a little bit. I don't know what this thing's actually called. V6 engine spark plug boot puller, 17mm. Anyways, you basically just use it to leverage on the plugs and pop them out. This is why I highly recommend you guys put dielectric grease on the boots, because if you put them in without any lubrication, my goodness man, it's hard to get them off and hard to push them on. So yeah, all those are out, so I'm gonna start ripping the spark plugs out for our passenger side. I did the easier side first. I should have done the harder side first. Alright guys, second plug out. Still pretty fouled up, just like the first one, not as bad. And this one is set to 0.045, so not as out of spec. Okay, we're getting a little better as we're moving further back. This one does not look as bad. And this one is just above 0.040 where I had set them. Alright guys, well that's all 8 out of the passenger side. I'm going to go ahead and plug the new ones in. Don't want to leave those cylinders open just because it's so wet out and stuff. I don't want moisture to collect in there, so I'm going to pop those new ones in and start ripping out the other ones right after I get those set. Alright, and I am not really going to gap these. I just need to check that they're all the same before I pop them in, but these are set basically like right above 0.035, so 0.037 is spec. I'm going to keep them pretty much where these are at. I just got to make sure they're all the same before I put them in. Alright, and the super life hack for you, if you haven't seen me do this trick yet, just a piece of hose that fits on tightly to the spark plugs and use this to thread them in by hand. You know, they'll seat nice and easy and thread in evenly without cross-threading anything. So that's how I do things. Alright guys, we are back. I had to go charge the camera and include the SD card, but this is all done, torqued up. I did not use a torque wrench this time. I don't think I'm going to anymore in the M113s, to be honest, guys. These were ridiculously tight getting them off, and I'm pretty sure I just did them to torque last time. So I just did the NGK torque spec, which is basically get them all the way hand tight with the wrench and then basically half a turn. So that's what I did on all these. Should be nice and snug and easy to get out in the future. So now it's time to tackle the other side. I was contemplating just leaving everything off until I get the piece that I want to put on, but I think just for variability's sake, or lessening the variables, I'm gonna go ahead and plug things back on, and that way we can just fire it up and make sure it's running good, and then go from there. So I gotta bust out this side, and I'll catch you guys afterwards. All right guys, all of those are out. Driver's side, this is the back going to the front. This side all looks pretty even. Pretty much all of them look even. It's just cylinder one really that was the only kind of anomaly, I guess. But yeah, not bad. I mean, 3 years of a lot of like inconsistent driving, to be honest. A lot of sitting, a lot of playing around with different tunes, etc., fuel. So yeah, all things considered, not too bad, but definitely excited to have a new fresh set of plugs in. Alright guys, about half an hour later, and we are all buttoned up, and man, I'm really excited about this little mod that I keep teasing to you guys, because these wires can be a real pain to get in. Do yourself a favor, like I always say though, use some dielectric grease on the boots at least, and when you're trying to get them to click onto the spark plugs, you really have to like kind of rotate and wiggle a little bit to see where it wants to see, and you'll hear, you know, an audible little click, and you'll feel it in your hand when it actually seats. The first time, I always tell the story, but the first time I ever did spark plugs on this car, this very car, I didn't get them seated all the way properly. The car ran, it drove, and then all of a sudden it started throwing like all kinds of weird codes. It was shutting off and dying and doing all kinds of weird stuff, and I could not figure out the life for me. I was still very much a rookie, a noob in terms of these cars, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then it turns out, after looking through all types of other things, scanning for codes, all this other stuff, it was just the spark plug boots were not clicked on to the spark plugs, and it was barely, you know, catching spark. So anyways, that's all tidied up. I think let's go ahead and fire this thing up, see how she sounds now with the fresh plugs. I'm sure it's probably going to be a noticeable difference just even idling and sitting around. So I'm not going to drive right now, I got other stuff to do, but let's fire it up. Alright guys, how it gets dark so quickly, I do not know. It was literally just full bright out when I came in about half an hour ago, but yeah, this thing should be okay to fire up. Battery has been sitting here getting conditioned. I gotta clean this car up. I have to clean all the cars up. You hear me talk about that in every video pretty much if it's not summertime. So anyways, let's try to do this thing, see how she looks and sounds. Oh yeah. Alright, first start, fresh plugs, fresh coil packs, new belt. Hope you're happy. The OG of the channel. Trying to give you some love before we start on some other projects. Okay, let's see how she does. That was quicker startup. Ignore my 1,000 warning lights. That was definitely a quicker startup. Still a bit smoky. Not as bad as it was the last time I started it though. Okay, let's go check fuel pressure. Let's go check fuel pressure and see what it sounds like up front. Huh, that's funny. I don't think my that little needle fluctuation I was getting before, it looks like it's not there right now. That's good. All right. Doesn't help that my exhaust is dumped right at the diff and I'm parked this close to the side of the garage. But yeah, she's alive, guys. Go give it a few blips. All right, I just moved it around the garage to get it not so close to the wall, but even just moving around right now, reverse and first, it feels much smoother. Holy crap. All right, let's give it a few blips. Yeah. Oh yeah, yes. That definitely feels happier. Way more responsive on the pedal. Holy crap. Yeah, the thing needed plugs bad. Alright, you guys, that'll go ahead and do it. Hope you guys enjoyed, picked up a few things, and hope you're excited for that little mod that I teased throughout this video. I'll try to get it up as soon as I get here. I got a few other things. We got the oil pressure sensor, and I'm going to be looking at doing the E55 fuel sending unit and what I'm going to need for that. So, a few things coming up. Like I said, I'm trying to give this thing some love before we jump back to finish that thing, and before we start working on Project Benzin on a budget again, which also excited for. So yeah, catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.